All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else, and the video I'm bringing you today is going to be a Theorycrafted AOE Magicka Warden build. Now, as is the case with the other one, there are a bunch of different ways to go through this, or to make this. I'm just posting one that I think will be effective for, outnumbered AOE style fighting. Like I said, I don't know if this is the best. This is just an idea. You guys can branch out. I will provide options as we dive through it. Yeah, so we're going to dive into it. And we're going to just kind of see, what makes us tick and, what's going to work out kind of well. So the first thing we're running, guys, we're going to run the long fin pasty on a Magicka Warden. My Warden is an Argonian. I have the filthy lizard tail, and so I feel like Tri-Stat food works out very well with an Argonian. We'll get a lot of recovery with the potion passive, all that fun stuff. I am running 5 spinners on the front bar. Now, you guys are going to ask, why not Overwhelming Surge? Overwhelming Surge is a great option. However, with the burst of that a Warden has, with their beetles, I think you want to try and amplify that as much as possible. I think you want to try and amplify the burst with the beetles, with the proxy dead, and just really try and stack both those things. Obviously, like Overwhelming Surge is great, it's proc set, but instead of like a Magplar where you're just constantly dishing out pressure, like that kind of really works with Overwhelming. This will work with, Overwhelming will work with a Magden, but I feel like Spinners is just a little bit better for that reason, because you're more burst. You're just going to all of a sudden, Beetles come out, Proxy comes out, you hit with your spammable, and it's just so much damage all at the same time, and it's just more burst. And instead of relying on the proc for sustain. So Spinners is once again a great set. Like I said, if you're running a large group, I'd take Spinners off, put Vicious Death on. If you're fighting severely outnumbered, I don't think Overwhelming Surge is bad. I just, have to compare them. That's just why I chose Spinners for this setup. Maelstrom Resto on the back bar. I think this is going to kind of be my go-to for a lot of Magicka builds. Next patch, Rapid Regeneration got a huge buff this patch, and so the heal over time is fantastic. On top of that, you get 800 Magicka every 4 seconds when you critically heal. And so this can be up to 400 Magicka recovery. If you guys went back and you looked at my comparison of Lich versus Warlock a while back, I want to say Warlock gave like 510, and then Lich gave anywhere from 450 to like 600 or 700. So the fact that a one-piece bonus can give us 400, which is very comparable, with a very strong heal now, just makes this kind of a no-brainer for me to run. We are going with 2-piece Bloodspawn. Bloodspawn is just going to... It's always a powerful monster set. You can never go wrong with Bloodspawn, like on any build. Bloodspawn is just great for literally any build in the game. It's a very nice set. And we're going to go with Crafty Alfiq with this. Honestly, Necropotence would be a little bit better. But I just wanted to kind of show the comparison here. Obviously, if you're going to run your pet, your Betty, you wear Necro. If you're not going to wear the Betty and you're going to use Spell Power Pots, which is a possibility, you wear Crafty Alfiq, in my opinion. So all Tri-Stats, and then obviously we are running Spinner's Jewelry. I have all recovery right now with Protective Jewelry on the pieces. Now, obviously, Buffer of the Swift is a fantastic set. We can still get pretty good resistances without running Buffer of the Swift. And so when you look at it, you have 3,000 spell and physical resistance for the 4-piece bonus, I think, of Swift. If we go in and we look at Protective Jewelry, you see we did get it nerfed, but you get 360 here with 3 protective pieces. So we missed 3,000 Magicka here, but we gain the resistances of the 4-piece bonus. So essentially it comes down to, do you want a little bit extra damage, or do you want the 10% damage mitigation from friendly player, or from enemy players that Buffer the Swift gives you? So I think it's up to your choice. I think Magden is kind of suited to have, they have very powerful heals with their Living Trellis. They're going to have heals with Rapid Regen. I'm going to try and go Necro / Crafty. I think that's kind of the way that I want to go to buff those heals a little bit. But if you choose, if you're a little too squishy, you could obviously go Swift, and that will be a good way to go. As far as our skills go on our back bar, Rapid Regeneration. This is a very strong heal now, fully buffed up. We have 17,400 health over 5 seconds. This will proc our Maelstrom Resto, which will give us a little bit of recovery. There it is. Dampen Magic, to buff our shields. Living Trellis. This is another heal, so when we're hit, we can have this on us and it'll continuously heal us. So we have 2 heal over times with a shield. Shimmering Shield gives us our major heroism and allows us to get to our ultimate faster. Ice Fortress, major resolve, major ward, and it also gives us minor protection. And then I'm running Enchanted Forest on the back bar as like a quick AoE ultimate. It's cheap to cast. It kind of protects everybody in the group. We have some utility in this group running Rapid Regen with Trellis, and then we can also get our trees down to help people out. On our front bar, Permafrost. This will be our only stun. Stacking Bloodspawn with our major heroism allows us to build our ulti-gen to get to our Permafrost faster. This is going to be how we're going to kill large groups of people. We also get major protection from it, so now we have major and minor protection, as well as our major ward plus protective jewelry. We can be very tanky with this, with our group. Shock Clench has an interesting aspect to it in that it is now an AoE. And so if you see I have 24 of my best friends over here, if I hit them all with Shock Clench, I can hit everybody at the same time with Shock Clench at range. So this skill is a dealer's choice sort of skill. If you look at the tooltip damage, we are wearing spinners, so our tooltip isn't very high. We can run Shock Clench here, or we could take this off and we could run Pulsar. And you see Pulsar does a little bit more damage than Shock Clench. It's a shorter radius and it does minor mangle. And so we do reduce the damage by 10%. And we also do a little bit more damage each time we cast this. But this is a lot cheaper. So you have 2430 versus 3159. I think for severely outnumbered, going the Pulsar route will probably be a little bit better. Clench does work pretty well with our Deep Fissure. And so if we can stay at range here a little bit, and when this goes off, we can stack it with this, and they all kind of line up. If I hit my sorry, I'm gonna blank here. If I hit my Pulsar from here, it would not land. So this kind of allows us to be able to kite a little bit and be able to attack at range with this, and also get our Deep Fissure to go off and do a bunch of damage. So at the end of the day, it's up to you for how you're fighting and what you want to do. You can go either one there. I don't think it's a big deal either way. Soul Splitting Trap. This is an AoE. You can cast it once and it literally lands on everybody. It's going to be a lot of dot pressure. This has helped the Magden quite a bit. So you have your burst damage plus you have AoE dot damage. Magden has potential to have a bunch of AoE damage with this. We have Deep Fissure, we have Shock Clench, we have Soul Splitting Trap, all doing a bunch of damage. And we're also going to be running Proximity Detonation. Proximity Detonation is obviously great for outnumbered PvP. It is going to be very useful for that reason. The more people we hit with this, the more damage it's going to do. We can line this up with our Deep Fissure. So you see this takes 8 seconds, this takes 5. So we cast this, we count down to 5, and then we cast this, and then we hit with our lightning, and then it kind of all, if we lined it up properly, it would all go off at the same time, and it could be a lot of burst. So getting your Proximity Detonation with your Deep Fissure, with your Shock Clench. So this is unbuffed. It's almost 20k tooltip damage. With this could be, this could be 30, 40, 50, 60k damage all at the same time. And so Wardens are going to have tremendous potential to dish out a bunch of damage all in a matter of a second. Burst is kind of the name of the game for wiping large groups of people, because if you don't line up your burst exactly right, you're going to they're going to heal through it. And so just the fact that you can line this up with this and have this damage over time effect is going to be really effective outnumbered. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of a cool aspect that the Warden has. One of the only cool aspects, I suppose. But we've already talked about the Warden and their kind of issues. Now, here's where I'm talking, another flex spot. Blue Betty is great. Okay, guys? Blue Betty is fantastic. It gives you Magicka return. You get 400 Magicka, roughly, regen off of this. It gives you your major sorcery. If you wanted to switch and you wanted to run spell power pots, which, frees up another space on your bar to where then you can run Bird of Prey. Bird of Prey will give you a little bit more damage, guys. And so I'm not saying this is the way to go. It's just up to you. So if you want that 8% applying to all this and you want to be a little bit more bursty, this is why I have Crafty Alfika on my bar. So I'm not saying it's right. You know, if you guys say, hey, like, why would you ever take Blue Betty off your bar? Okay, fine. You know, we're necropotents. That's fine. I'm not here to get in an argument about which one's better. It's just, you know, there are pros and cons to both. This will give you more burst damage, which amplifies this and this and this. And so your burst will be a lot higher. Or, you know, you run your Blue Betty, which gives you major sorcery, allows you to run a few other pots. It just kind of depends on your fight, guys. You know, if you're watching this video and you fight outnumbered, you know that when all of a sudden you've been farming a resource against like 10 people, like let's say you have a group of 3 or 4, you've been farming the same 10 to 12 people over and over and over again. They're going to get upset. They're going to call in more people. And at some point, you're going to have 30 people bum rush in. And there eventually comes a point to where your group just does not have the damage to take out that group because they just have too much healing. And so that's why I'm opting, you know, for severely outnumbered play to try and put Bird of Prey on my bar, because you're only going to get so many chances to wipe the entire group. And so you really want to try and line up, you know, this plus your proxy debt plus this, and then you hit your ultimate, and then literally it all goes off at the same time, and you get a shit ton of damage. And so that's why I'm kind of advocating in that way, guys. That's why I have Crafty Alfiq on my bar, like I said. You may want to put Buffer the Swift on. It doesn't really matter. And then Permafrost, like I said, it's our only CC. So, yeah. So the gear kind of interchanges. Like I said, you could make a case, you know, for running Willpower, and then you run the Black Rose Perfected Lightning Staff because you get that pen and you get the dot damage. I think this is a pretty good option as well. Once again, this is like you're in the thick of things. Like this is a great weapon if you're AoE bombing. Master's Lightning Staff, you know, just looking at things, it's kind of fallen to the wayside in my opinion. So like they nerfed this enough to where I don't know if I would run this. So it obviously buffs. So I'm just going to put it on, guys, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But they obviously buffed or nerfed the Shock Clench. But, you know, our Shock Clench still isn't bad. We're at 9751. If we buff up... Oh, sorry. That's not buffed up. If we buffed up, we'd have over 10k Shock Clench, which isn't bad. Our sub doesn't, but the problem is our Deep Fissure drops, our Soul Splitting Trap drops, and our Proximity Debt drops, and our Permafrost. So I don't think going these Masters specialty weapons is the way to go next patch. You know, I'd have to do the math on it. I have to actually test everything. But in my head, it's like, you know, do you want the what is it? 3k more tooltip damage on your Shock Clench, but then you lose, what is it, 1500 off of this, plus 2k off of this, plus, you know, this, and then, you know, they're 400 per second off of this. Like, I think I would rather just have, on top of the pen from Spinners, you know, I think I would rather go Spinners and have the full 5-piece on the front bar, or Overwhelming Surge and have the proc set on the front bar over those two things. And so that's just my thought. You know, like I think Magical Warden is in a very interesting spot to where you can really buff things up here. And so you see I have a 14k Deep Fissure. This will jump up to like 15 or 16 if I have my Major Sorcery on. If I have some pots here. I always skip over those. But anyways, I think this is the better way to go. I think Spinners, Overwhelming Surge, or Vicious Death on the front bar is the best way to go. Alfiq, Necropotence, or Bright Throat, or Buffer of the Swift on the body is probably the way to go. And I'd probably stick with Bloodspawn on a Warden just because you really want the ulti-gen. You know, your main source of damage, you know, doing AoE damage is Permafrost, and you want to get to your Permafrost as quickly as possible so that you can provide major protection for your group. You can snare people, you can CC people, and you can do all this damage. So those are kind of my thoughts, guys. Like I said, you know, please provide comments in the section below on what you think. You know, I'm not the best Magden in the world, so any input would be greatly appreciated, but this is just kind of what I'm looking at for next patch. If I'm missing something, you know, like an AoE skill or, you know, a weapon or whatever, let me know. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.